Fellas, week 8 in the books already. Over the halfway point. We're in the playoff push, baby. I appreciate Sean and Sky prompt with their videos this week. You will have them in the first part of this video, thanks to that. Before we get into it, predictions for the last week: 2-3. Not what we want. Not where we want to be. 21-19 on the season. Sammy, Ben, Chad, Alex got your games right. Everyone else got your games wrong. Jack, wish you would have gave that speech earlier. I definitely would have picked you over Sky. Omar, tough to lose to a team that scores -9, but they were winner of the week too. That's how gritty Sean's performance was. And the no just with an all-time choke this week. Bijan getting doubled up on by Tajay Spears. Not going to win many games when that happens, but we'll get into it like we always do. But first, let's hear from our winner of the week, Sean. Vibe check. How we feeling? Second winner of the week on the season.
Gentlemen, it's your most humble winner of the week here for the second time this season. Can't say I expected to be here again after the first one, but thrilled that we are. Again, we'll be staying humble this week, not going to get ahead of ourselves. It's kind of the culture we've created at Sponsored by Palantir. Thank you again to Palantir for being our owners this year, our most generous owners. A lot of trust in the team. So yeah, that's where I'll start. Coaching. I've hinted at a lot of coaching changes this year that I made on my team. I fired my staff. You may wonder what that looks like in fantasy football because there are no coaches. But you're wrong. I serve as more of a GM on my team. Our offensive coordinator right now is Bashar al-Assad. He telephones in from Russia, wherever he's hiding right now. One of the greatest offensive attacking minds in the world right now. He's on the staff, and our defensive coordinator is Hunter Biden's lawyer team. Again, Palantir pulled a bunch of strings bringing these guys in, and it's paid dividends. I'll be firing the Bengals defense this week. They're already dropped. Minor blip in the coaching decisions right now. But we're really happy with where the squad is. We got rid of Malik Neighbors and Tyreek Hill. Nothing but dead weight from them. Massive negative impacts to the culture from those guys. You may say, Sean, those are two of your top picks, and their knees literally exploded on national television. I made that decision. We wanted that to happen. We wanted to get those guys off the team. And those kinds of injuries keep from prying eyes. We have guys like Rashid Shaheed now. Isaiah Pacheco is probably gone at this point. It doesn't fit the culture here either. But yeah, we're happy. We've been moving some guys around. Travis Hunter's back again, which is big for us. He had some coaching out in California with Omar's team, but he's back, and we're happy he's back. Our Packers triple stack is just hanging fucking sack on people lately. It's terrific. I do this every year where I take mostly Packers players, and it kind of works. This year it's really seeming to work. And that brings me to my second major point, which is Tucker Kraft on National Tight End Day. You guys may have tight ends, but my end is the tightest, for sure. That was a huge game from Tucker Kraft. Real statement win from the Packers and a statement win for the Palantir boys. Took down Omar, who's a good team, well coached, good culture over there. And yeah, we go into a week against Sky where, you may see this as a trap game. We don't. We're going to go full steam ahead. Sky's a respectable opponent, good coach. Lacks a bit of enthusiasm at times, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's been rough on him this year, especially with the Commanders too. Yeah, not much else to add. We'll keep tinkering, finding who's the best culture fit for our team, but not going to complain. I think this is the first time I've been winner of the week twice in a season, so it feels good. Good momentum once we got those fuck sticks off of our team, and looking ahead here, try to beat Sky this week. Thanks, everybody. Take it easy.
Sean, first off, I'll say a lot of good lines in that one, a lot of bangers in there. You did have the tightest of ends last week. Tucker Kraft, absolute monster performance, 33 points on Sunday Night Football, where we all just had to sit back and watch. 143-134, gets the victory. Omar was top 4 in scoring, not enough to get it done this week. On the flip side, our toilet bowl performance, loser, sole possession of last place. Jack comes away with a very, very big win. 60-point win over Sky, who let's just hear what Sky had to say.
Hello, my name is Sky McBride, and I will be reading Funeral Blues by W.H. Auden. Stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone. Prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone. Silence the pianos, and with a muffled drum, bring out the coffin, let the mourners come. Let airplanes circle, moaning overhead, scribbling on the sky the message, he is dead. Put crepe bows round the white necks of the public doves. Let the traffic policemen wear black cotton gloves. He was my north, my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest. My noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. The stars are not wanted now. Put out every one. Pack up the moon and dismantle the sun. Pour away the ocean and sweep up the wood, for nothing now can ever come to any good. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot to say from Sky. I did some research on his team's performance this year. We all know he's last in that simulated record, sitting at 17 and 55 against everyone. He's had 3 loser of the week performances, and he's only been top 5 in scoring once the entire season. That was week 4 when he went 5 and 4 across the field. Other than that, he's been 0 and 9, 0 and 9, 0 and 9, 2 and 7, 2 and 7, 4 and 5, 4 and 5, 4 and 5. So, not been a great year for Sky, as some would put it. But you know what? It's a long season, right? He could squeak out of last place. Speaking of last place standings, the league is balanced right now, fellas. We got Sky bringing up the rear at 2 and 6. We got Jack and Sammy at 3 and 5 apiece. Then we have 4 teams sitting at 4 and 4 with Char, Noto, Sean, and Chad. And then we have Omar and Stern sitting at 5 and 3. And I have somehow squeaked out of this, sitting at first place, which I'm sure brings all of you, especially Omar, a lot of agony. But the good thing, Omar, is you have a chance this week to tie up the score. If you win, we'll be sitting in first place together, assuming Ben wins as well. But if you lose, that's a 2-game gap. That's a big game for you, buddy. But let's get into these matchups this week, shall we? Just to clarify, Matt, this week is in last week's matchups. Got a little ahead of myself. Got excited looking forward. We haven't done the recap yet. So let's recap. Our first matchup was Sean and Omar, 143 to 134. Sean gets a 9-point win. And as I mentioned, that was with his defense getting negative 9 points. That's the most amount of negative points we've ever had in the league from anyone. How to get it done? He had Brees Hall score 32, Tucker Kraft scored 33, Jordan Love with 28, A came with 20. The rest of the team was just okay, with Dubes with 9, Pacheco only with 5, Cade Otton with 8, and then Shaheed actually had a very serviceable game with 14 points. You'll take that for sure out of someone you get off the waivers. Jaden Higgins was on his bench. That was a good pickup. Would have been a better play over Pacheco this week, but didn't matter. Was enough for Sean to get a win, 143. Actually, one of our lower winner of the weeks, but it was a meh. Like, everyone was pretty around the same this week with all of the buys. So, you know what? Sean's not complaining. 4 and 4 is a heck of a lot better than 3 and 5, and it's on the back of a winner of the week performance. On Omar's side of the matchup, 134. Tough to come away with a loss here. I think he was 4th in scoring this week, so would have beat a majority of the league. Where was he let down? Kyle Monangai. That's really what happened was, Drake London's ruled out an hour before kickoff. He's got a sub in Kyle Monangai. I would assume that Drake London probably was going to get 12 points this week. That would have been enough for Omar to get the win over Sean here, but that's not what happened. Drake London's out. Everyone else on bye: Laporta, ETN, JMO, and Travis Hunter, all on bye. Travis Hunter's been shipped back to Sean, who I'm sure will be in the starting lineup. But Omar, like I said, had a decent performance. He was pretty balanced-ish in scoring. Daniel Jones with 23, Derrick Henry with 19. He found the end zone twice. Lab McConkey with 20, Kelsey with 21 on Monday night, and then Jamar with 19 targets, getting 21 points. And then my Patriots juggernaut defense with 12 points against the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, the Pats are for real, and I don't care who knows it. But yes, Sean, massive win here, 4 and 4, firmly in the playoff picture at this juncture. And then Omar drops to 5 and 3, sitting in third place. Matchup 2, and again, I got this one wrong because I didn't know that Jack made the speech of a lifetime. 133 to 72, 61-point win. The boys were playing inspired. Sky's boys were playing scared. On Jack's side of the matchup, Saquon obviously exploded even though he left in the third quarter, 33 points. That was Jack's best Saquon performance of the year. Jalen Waddle with a great performance of 20 points. Olave with 14. Javonte looked great with 17 points. Diggs got in the end zone for the first time as a New England Patriot. Texans defense was solid with 7. Basically, everyone from Jack's team played well, except for his newly acquired Baker Mayfield from me. And honestly, that trade just hurt both of us because I would have started Troy Franklin over T. Higgins. That was a 27 to 12 point difference. Caleb only got 10 over Baker's 4. So we both are probably better off just not doing that. But we both won this week, so we'll say that we both brought some good juju into our locker room. And then Dallas Goedert looked great on National Tight End Day as well. I believe he scored twice. But yeah, the Eagles just steamrolled the Giants, and obviously RIP Scottaboo, that's a huge bummer. But Jack's got to feel good about this victory. He's a game up on last place. I'm not saying maybe he's looking ahead to playoffs, but he's only a game back outside of the playoff picture at this juncture. So big win from Jack. On Scott's side of the matchup, just real bad all across the league, all across the board. I'm looking at his team now. We had 3 players in double digits. Everyone else was in single digits. 72 points is one of the lower performances we've had for the entire year. And he left points on the bench too, like he always does. R.J. Harvey with 24 points on the bench. Woody Marks with 15 points on the bench. Juwan Jennings, who I dropped, 8 points on the bench. It would have been better than most of the guys that he played. Chiefs D with 11. Gadsden was a great waiver wire pickup. I dropped him too early. That was dumb of me. And then CeeDee Lamb with 14. Everyone else, like I said, single digits. Dak was 6. AK was 6. Quinchon, again, the Patriots have not given up 50 yards to a rusher this entire season, which is pretty wild. But he leaves the game early. He's got an AC sprain. It's either 1 week out or he's 6 weeks out. We're not sure. They're on the bye week. I'm sure that nothing's going to be said about it while he's out. Fat Debo obviously looked horrible because he's fat and bad. And then Darnell Mooney, that was a bit of a shocker. The Falcons just got steamrolled by the Dolphins, and Darnell Mooney, you think he'd be the guy with Drake London out, but Kirk Cousins looked horrible, and then Dalton Schultz was not a very good play. Unfortunately for Sky. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at now. Sky, sole possession of last place, sitting at 2-6, and Jack, he's back alive in the mix of things, 3-5 in ninth place. Matchup 3, Sammy and Stern. Sammy gets a much-needed win here. He was on a 4-game skid, moving up to 3-5, 139 to 123, good for the second highest score this week. Congratulations, Sammy. And it was not looking good for him going into this matchup after the Thursday night game with Jordan Mason only scoring 1 point. Sammy not realizing that Aaron Jones was back, but honestly, there wasn't really anything he could do. His bench, he literally didn't have anyone that could sub him in for him, so he kind of just had to sit and live with his decision. Who got it done for him? Basically everyone except Jordan Mason. Everyone else here was double-digit scoring. Only one person broke 20, and it was Chase Brown, who scored twice. Sammy finally getting some value back on that trade. Nice ups to you, Sammy. Romo Dunze looked great. He was targeted early and often. He had over 100 yards receiving, I believe. 114 yards, no touchdowns, still scored 18 points. Jordan Addison looked good, but Carson Wentz has been targeting him. Carson Wentz done for the year. We'll see how Jordan Addison looks for the rest of the year. George Kittle found the end zone. DK Metcalf looked good. He just remembered he was bigger than everyone. Devontae looked good too as well with A.J. Brown out. So, some people are saying that the Eagles offense actually looks better without A.J. Brown. And I'm one of those people. Bills defense was great with 18 points going up against Carolina. That was a shit kicking through and through. And then Jackson Dart looked pretty serviceable. He's been a great QB option, honestly, from a fantasy perspective. His lowest score has been 15 through 5 weeks, and he scored 28 as his high. So looking like a very serviceable QB with Lamar out, but he does get Lamar back this week, so I'm assuming that Matt Stafford or Jackson Dart is going to be back on the waivers. But Sammy, much needed win. Stern has now dropped 2 in a row, which is unfortunate for him. I did send him a trade earlier that would have won him this game, which I did text him about. It was just for everyone's league. I'm very open with the trades I offer people. I offered him Hunter Henry and T. Higgins for Jake Ferguson. Obviously, Jake Ferguson with a 0-burger this week. T. Higgins found the end zone, and also Hunter Henry found the end zone. So that would have been enough for Stern, I believe, to get that if he would have started T. Higgins over Bill, which I think he would have. And Stern will be winning and Sammy will be losing, but that's not what happened. He didn't see the trade, he didn't text me back, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. But Jalen looked good, 25 points. James Cook looked fantastic, like 200 yards on the ground, 33 points. DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore were both fine with 15 11 respectively. And Zay Flowers actually looked decent with Tyler Huntley back there. As a Ravens fan, you got to wonder why Cooper Rush was ever the backup QB to begin with when you could have just had Tyler Huntley all along. It may end up costing them a playoff position with Lamar coming back. The AFC North is a disaster. They're still definitely very much alive, especially with Lamar coming back. So you got to wonder what the heck they were doing. But that we're not here to talk about NFL. We're here about talking fantasy football. And Sammy gets the win here, 139 to 123. Sammy up to 3-5 in 8th place, and Stern drops to 5-3 in 2nd. Lost 2 in a row. Matchup 4, Chad and Char. I got this game right. I don't remember exactly what I said about Char's team last week's video. I assume it wasn't very nice. And he proved me very right, scoring 83 points, his lowest score of the season. He is basically nothing without Puka and JSN. CMC, worst game of the season, only with 9 points. The 49ers just were not on the field at all that entire game. It was basically just CJ Stroud on the field the whole time. Josh Allen was fine with 23 points. Tat looked fine with 16 points. Xavier Worthy's pretty mid, but 10 points, and then no one else was in double digits. Ramondre disappointed, as always, because he's fat and bad. Falcons defense was 0. They got steamrolled by the Dolphins, as I mentioned. Aaron Jones was pretty meh in his return. Egbuka, that was disappointing for sure. He had a touchdown that was just broken up at the end. That would have been a nice play for Char. Would not have been enough to get him the victory, but Egbuka, I think, clearly still a little banged up. He goes into the bye week. It'll be nice for him to have that rest. But Char's team just looked real bad without JSN and Puka, as I predicted. On Chad's side of the matchup, 112, probably shouldn't have won. Bottom 3 in scoring this week, but got lucky with the matchup. And you know what? With losing Scadaboo, that's tough. I think, it's nice he can at least get a win after this weekend. After Scadaboo's done for the year, that's a bummer for everyone. He was pretty fun to watch. Bo Nix with 23. Kamani Vidal, great waiver wire pickup. Him over Haskins looking to have been the obviously the correct play. Who would have thought a few weeks ago when those were the options that this would be where we are. Josh Jacobs, I think, found the end zone again with 13 points. I'm actually not sure if he did, but yeah, he did. Jaylen Warren was just fine going up against Green Bay, not super great. The Steelers as a whole didn't look great. Cortland Sutton was just fine. Tez Johnson just fine. Tyler Warren, the touchdown streak stops here, only 9 points for him, which when you say that as a rookie tight end, but he's been phenomenal this year. And then the Colts, he honestly disappointed a little bit, only with 7 points. You thought they'd at least get in the end zone from against Cam Ward, who's been atrocious the whole year. But Chad's hot. I think he's won 4 out of his last 5. He's balling right now. Even though low scoring output this week, he still gets the win. He played a gritty defensive mindset. Scary Terry found the end zone. I'm not sure if he's banged up. Sky said that he re-hurt his quad or something, which would just be pretty funny. For all that, the holdout, to not practice, to be injuring his quad, coming back, and then getting hurt and being out again. But you don't know. We won't know until later this week. Chad, gritty win here. And now both of these teams are sitting at 4-4, but Char's in 4th with the points, and Chad's sitting at 7th with his points. Matchup 5, me and Noto. I got this one wrong. I did not think I was going to win this game, and I really didn't think I was going to win this game after Thursday night staring at Quentin Johnson's 0 burger on 0 targets on Thursday. I was pretty bummed out for a few days looking at that, but this ended up being a little bit of a curb stopping. A 21-point victory was not really that close. On my side of the matchup, just a gritty performance from the guys. You know what I mean? We knew we were short on the running back room this week, and we left a lot of points on the bench, and we still got the win. Jonathan Taylor, just give the man the MVP. RB1 in the season now, 37 points, 3 touchdowns again. Absolutely unbelievable. Even my man Tajay Spears got into the action. He tripled up on Bijan, 17-15. That's tough sledding for Corndog, who I know will not be listening to this because he only listens when he wins. But Justin Jefferson was a little meh with 14 points on Thursday night as well. So I really thought I was boned after the JJ, QJ stack, or not stack, double, whatever, combined for 14 points. I was in trouble. Hunter Henry only 1 catch, but it was a touchdown. Thank you, Hunter Henry. Pittman has been great. I have been very happy that people have not wanted to trade him from me, even though I've been asking people to trade him for me all season. He's the wide receiver 6. Newly acquired T. Higgins, only 2 targets, but one of them was a 45-yard bomb. But should have left Troy Franklin in. He scored 26 on the bench. Isaiah Davis looked great on the bench, too. And then Luther Burton, he's going to get cut if he hasn't been already. I already cut him at the time of this video. So, great effort from the boys here. Gritty win. No one's mentioned this yet. I'll just say, hand up. Before the game, I dropped the Bucs defense for the Bears defense. That cost me winner of the week. Very unfortunate. That was a 20-point swing. Don't know what I was thinking there. Got too in my head. Got too cutesy with it. I apologize to myself for that. We're going to have a look in the mirror. On Noto's side of the matchup, pretty bad. 116. not what you want out of someone who was really the only one that wasn't really affected by this bye week. Obviously, A.J. Brown going out is a bummer for him. He leaves Harold Fannin Jr. on the bench with 18 points in favor of Kendrick Bourne, but he was let down by his running back room. Bucky's been out. That's been his biggest detriment so far. Bijan only with 5 points when he was projected. He was projected for 26 points, and he scored 5 points. Rashad White with 8 points. Rasheed Rice looked great. Khalil Shakir had a really nice long touchdown. Kyle Pitts looked good. Dobbins looked good. Bourne was just fine. The 49ers couldn't get going. And then I actually dropped the 49ers defense beforehand because I didn't want to root for them and against them. I was glad I did. A -3 points. The Houston offense just ran all over them. But, the 49ers defense, their whole team was injured. So, that was tough sledding for them. But I get the win. I'm up to 6-2. We're 6-2, alone at the top. Omar, you got a chance to knock me down a peg, which I know you love doing. So we'll see if you can do it this week. But I'm alone at the top at 6-2, and Noto, one of the many 4-4 teams sitting in 5th place. And that was last week. We're on to this week. We're looking ahead. In our first matchup, Sean and Sky. We're now getting to the point where we're repeating some people. Sean and Sky. Sky comes in at about a 1-point favorite. Sean, Breece Hall on bye this week. That's not great for him for sure. Kate Otten as well, but that's not as big of a hit. He does get Travis Hunter back in the lineup. These two teams did play previously in Week 5 where Sean won by a score of 147-101. Sky needs to start stacking some dubs, if I'm going to be honest with you. And I think last time I did pick Sky to win, and Sean humbled me in very embarrassing fashion, as you can see with a 46-point win here. Sky's team looks a little different now at this juncture with all the waiver claims that he's made. He is now the second owner of the Ravens defense, who are averaging 0.7 points a game. Maybe Sky thinks it'll be different on Thursday Night Football. But, we'll see, right? There's a reason they're ranked 31st in the league. I know they're playing the Dolphins, but the Falcons played the Dolphins last week. Gadsden staying in the lineup. That's been a good waiver claim for him last week. Tyrone Tracy, one of the 7 people to get him. One of the 7 people to put in the claims, the one that ended up getting him. Debo is very fat, as I say every week, but Scary Terry already ruled out for this week, so he's back to being the number 1 pass catcher for the Commies, who suck, frankly. He's got Dak Prescott in over I don't even see him because I'm looking at the scoreboard. He has Dak over in over Jaden. I'm assuming Jaden is an IR slot illegally, so we can roster an extra guy because he's trying to keep as many people as he can before he has to drop someone. I bet he won't drop Jerry Jeudy. I bet it'll be Darnell Mooney. But actually, he'll probably just swap Ridley into it when Ridley's eventually ruled out because he never plays either. But that's Sky's side of the matchup. BTJ was in a non-contact jersey today, which is just crazy for a receiver who's been very afraid of contact, to put him in a non-contact jersey, and then Trey McBride gets back from his bye week as well. So Sky's team is looking decent-ish, I guess. CD and Trey McBride are great. Gadsden, sure. And then everyone else, man. Tyrone Tracy was a good pickup for him. On Sean's side of the matchup, his triple stack of Packers boys has been his go-to. They've been good. He's got Travis Hunter and the Jags defense going against the Raiders too. I love looking at his matchups because it's always a bunch of people on the same team. He's got 3 people going against Carolina, all in the Packers, 2 people going against the Saints on the Rams with Kyron and Devontae, and then he's got, obviously, A-Kane. So that'll be an interesting one. A-Kane against the Ravens defense on Thursday night, and then obviously his Jaguars players as well. Breece Hall and bye, as I said. Sean obviously made me look like a fool last time I picked against him against Sky. I will not be making the same mistake twice. I think Sean takes this one. And if I'm talking all over the place, it's because I just had a white monster. I'm going beast mode for these predictions, fellas. Let's lock in. Matchup 2. Got 4-4 squaring off here. Chad and Noto, 5th and 7th place, one of the many 4-4 teams that we have. Chad's on it. He's already plugged Scary Terry out of his lineup. He's already been ruled out for the week. Recording this at around 5:45, 6-ish here, Wednesday, October 29th. It may be in part that I text him weekly asking him to trade me Jaylen Warren. I never get anywhere, as you can see, that he's still on Chad's roster and I've yet to acquire him. But, maybe this is the week he realizes that Marvin Harrison Jr. sucks and he probably needs another receiver. But he's managing his own team. He's a great guy. These two teams did play in week 1. Noto won by a score of 125-103, so Noto has the advantage in that. Chad, So his namesake was Cam You Believe It. He lost Cam last week, and he's benched Bo Nix this week in favor of Sam Darnold, who got off the waivers. Bo Nix going up against a very good Houston defense, and Sam Darnold going against a very bad Commies defense. Disrespect intended to my Commies fans out there. Josh Jacobs, I think, has been a little banged up, but it doesn't matter because he scores touchdowns every week. MHA is horrible. Cortland Sutton's been fine, but again, Houston's defense is very good. Tyler Warren's awesome. And then Vidal has been great off the waivers for him. And Boutte is a beast. Love that guy, but he's a boomer bust play, I'd say, at this point. Just is he going to catch a deep ball from Drake May is the question for him weekly. He has the past couple weeks. He's been decent, but Drake May likes to spread the ball around a lot. Looking at this matchup, both these teams are looking pretty mad right now. I'll be honest. Both looking pretty middle of the pack. Chad, due in part due to injuries and other things of that nature, and Noto with injuries, basically. He's out A.J. Brown, who's on bye anyway. Bucky is on bye and injured. That's basically it for him. But and Garrett Wilson. What am I talking about? Garrett Wilson in the AR slot, too. So Noto's pretty banged up. His team right now is basically Bijan and Rasheed, and that's about it. Mahomes, who's sitting at the QB1, averaging 24 points a game. Shakir's pretty boomer bust, but he was solid last week. He broke that long touchdown. Kyle Pitts is the tight end 9 on the year. Trevion Henderson, for those keeping tabs on my friend Travion, he's in the doghouse. He's not going to get out of the doghouse this year. The Ramondre didn't practice today, and it's been rumored that the Patriots are going to trade for a running back. We just drafted this guy in the second round. Vrabel clearly does not trust him yet. I don't think he's been great in pass protection. That's been the biggest issue. But I don't think it's happening for Trevion this year. I think maybe next year is in the cards. But from a fantasy perspective for this year, tough sledding for sure, averaging 6 points a game. And then Jacoby Myers, who I don't think's played for the past couple weeks. I know they were on bye, but didn't play the week before, has very loudly and clearly said he wants to be traded. And then Noto also going with the 49ers defense, again, even though they just got him negative points last week against his beloved Jackson Dart-led Giants. I bet that he's going to sub them out for the Seahawks if I had to guess. But then again, Jaden is back this week. So I'm not sure what Noto's going to do. Long story short, we're rambling. We're analyzing the matchup. I've been talking for 3 minutes just about these guys here. It's going to be Chad this week. I think Chad gets his revenge. Week 1, Noto handed him his welcome to the league loss, but Noto's team is on the decline, and Chad's team is hot. I think Chad takes this one. I just talked for 3.5 minutes about this matchup, and my computer glitched and deleted it. I don't know why it does that, but we'll recap what we just said. Char and Sammy, matchup 3, 149 to 137. Sammy projected for the third highest total this week, but unfortunately going against the highest, with Char at 149 projecting for the highest in the lead. Char does have Ekbuka on bye. He is very much hurting for depth at this juncture, honestly. Mark Andrews has not been great. Xavier Worthy's not been great. Ramondre obviously hasn't been great either, and he did not practice today. If he has to turn to Aaron Jones or Tony Pollard, I'm sure Char will be less than thrilled to have to do that. The Rams deal was a good pickup for him. But as I've said before, Char is extremely top-heavy with CMC, JSN, and Puka. With all that being said, his team obviously is good when it's healthy, but he's very top-heavy. And I will say that Josh Allen, to take a QB in the second round, first QB off the board, you probably want a little bit more. Sitting at the QB 7 right now. You could have gotten someone way later, not burned a pick on that, but I'm sure Char is actually pretty happy with the first 4 rounds of his draft. But just thought I'd note Josh Allen from a fantasy perspective actually has been pretty disappointing this year from where he was drafted. On Sammy's side of the matchup, Devontae Smith on bye this week. He really doesn't have a lot of choices to make with Jordan Mason fading back into relevancy. Brandon Ayuk's never going to play football again. He's still rostering 3 QBs. I'm not sure why, but he has 3 of them. Lamar, he gets back for this Thursday night. I'm sure he's happy to get him back. Odunze did not practice today with a heel injury. That is new, something to monitor for sure. Hopefully it's just a rest day, a dude's day. He's earned it because he's their best player. But it's definitely something for Sammy to monitor because if he does not play, he does not have anyone except for Jordan Mason to plug in, which I'm sure he would just end up dropping one of his extra QBs and pick up someone else, but you never know. The Lions defense, I like that play. I think they'll get home to the QB. They'll get some sacks, probably force turnover or 2 for sure. DK's been great. Kittle's looked great last week. He will get Nico back this week for clearing concussion protocol. He does get Lamar back, as I mentioned. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, probably in for a big week against not a very great Minnesota defense that I think just got carved up by the Chargers very recently. I will say Flacco didn't practice today. Apparently he has an AC sprain. That would be a huge bummer for all of the Cincinnati Bengals offensive players. Chase Brown, T. Higgins for me, Jamar Chase for Omar. That would suck big time because we saw what happens when Jake Browning's at the helm, and it's not good for anyone. I think Sammy, honestly, has had a pretty rough schedule. I know he's had a couple real bad weeks, but to get Char back after his 3-game skid when he finally gets most of his team back outside of Igbuka on bye, who honestly hasn't been great the past couple weeks, but that's besides the point that I'm making here. He gets Char back with Puka, JSN, CMC. Tough. It's tough for Sammy for sure to look at the app and see that this is his opponent this week. But all that being said, these two teams have played previously in Week 5. Char won 166 to 137, so it wasn't close. It was about a 29-point win. I think Char probably gets another win here in another high-scoring matchup. I think it is going to be difficult for any team to beat Char when he has his top 3 guys. So I do think Char takes this one, unfortunately, for our friend Sammy. Matchup 4, we have Stern and Jack. Stern comes in at a 15-point favorite exactly. And I do think that Jack actually has set his lineup without me having to remind him. So more power to you, Jack. I appreciate you, leaning forward in your chair and locking in. Stern has filled out his roster. He's picked up some bench players. Good on you, Stern. Bam Knight, that was a solid pick. I think he's probably a 1-week rental. If you have him, you play him this week. But I think the guys he has in makes sense that he has in over him. But I think with Trey Benson potentially coming back, this will be a short-lived turn for Zonovan Knight. These two teams did play previously in Week 1 in a bit of a stinker. 98-82 was the final, and Stern got the win there. Jalen on bye this week. He's got Kyler Murray going up against Dallas, so that is a great matchup for Kyler to come back to if he is able to play. DeAndre Swift did not practice today. I'm sure he'll be fine. DJ Moore has not been good this year, sitting the wide receiver 40 on the season, averaging 9 points a game. It just hasn't really found his rhythm in Ben Johnson's offense. I don't think he's long for the Chicago Bears. Ferguson, even with his zero burger last week, still sitting at the tight end 1 on the year. Say Flowers, obviously, I think he's in for a big night this week against the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football with Lamar back, and Amon-Ra has been fantastic. Wide receiver 4, and that's through the bye week as well. I do like that these two teams are playing the defenses that are playing each other. So Stern's going with the Broncos D against Houston. Jack's going with the Texas defense against Denver. So I do like that. That is interesting. Very cool, guys. Big fan of that. On Jack's side, I know his team was the talk of the town in the group chat this week for a little bit. His first couple rounds were real rough, but I'll say Jack's back half of the draft was real good. You combine his back half of the draft with Char's first half of the draft, and that's a super team right there for sure. Caleb with Baker on bye going up against Cincy's defense, who just got absolutely torched by the New York Jets. That's a great matchup for him, even though I do not think Caleb's very good. Chuba, I think, has been relegated to RB2 with Rico Dowdle taking over at the helm. We'll see how that shakes out against Green Bay and Micah Parsons. Javante's been great. Diggs has been solid. Wandale's been solid. He gets Brock Bowers back, finally, who's been banged up and missing time basically this whole year, and then Waddle and Olave with his 2 flexes are pretty solid. Stern's been on a skid. I think the skid stops here. I think he does get the win, kind of sets his course back correctly after he was alone at the top. He was sitting at 5-1 all by himself. He slid to 5-3 in second. But I do think Stern gets the win here over our friend Jack, unless Jack can, rile up his speech to get his boys going. I think Stern takes this one. Our final matchup, it's rivalry week, baby. Me and Omar, as you all know, me and Omar, we play once a year, week 9 every year, and whoever wins this game, the loser has to cover the buy-in for the winner of this matchup. Even though I did win the championship last year, I actually lost to Omar during this matchup. I lost like 2 games all year, and this was one of them. It was, in fact, a Ravens-Broncos game that Omar went to where he had Derrick Henry, he had Cortland Sutton, and he watched his own players score 5 touchdowns combined against me, and that was probably one of the best days of Omar's last year and a half. So I do remember that vividly because I was pretty bummed out, but happy for the guy as always, because that's my dog for real. But on Omar's side of the matchup, as we talked about in the chat, he did not get any of the waiver claims that he put in for. I did walk him through how that process worked, and I think he gets it now because he's a smart fella. But, I'm happy to explain it to him again if he wants to hear it. So he has the Patriots defense in right now. If I had to guess, I think he subs them out. I know they're the defense 1 on the year, actually, because they're dogs. Not surprising, but I don't think he keeps him in this week. He is rolling with his Chargers. double entendre with Lab McConkey and Keenan Allen against Tennessee. That's a great matchup for the Chargers this week. He is currently going with Daniel Jones against Pittsburgh over Jared Goff against Minnesota. I bet he flip-flops on that one back and forth. ETN against the Raiders, who has not been great really since the first 4 weeks. Double digits the first 4, 8, 9, and 6, and then his bye last week. So he has not been great. He's fallen off a little bit. And then Kelsey's actually been solid this year, sitting at the tight end 5 on the year. We'll see if he keeps him in. We'll see if he puts Laporta in. We'll see if he puts Dowdle in. I am 100% sure that Omar is going to tinker with his lineup and then be stressed about it. Omar does come in at about a 4-point favorite here. On my side of the matchup, we got Drake May, the QB3 on the year, my dog for real. MVP Jonathan Taylor, he scored 3 touchdowns like every week. I love that guy. We get GNT back off of his bye week. Hopefully we get that rookie increase in production after the bye, as is tradition for most rookies. JJ, we're hoping gets going a little bit. He's sitting at the wide receiver 16 on the year. He has not been great for where I took him in the draft, unfortunately. Pittman has been great. I appreciate that everyone ignores me trying to trade him because I start him every week and does well for me every week. So I'm just going to keep doing that, but I'm also going to note that he is still open to trade, as is basically everyone on my team. Got Hunter Henry, my dog, that stack. I love it when they score touchdowns. It makes me real happy. And then T. Higgins and Dave Montgomery rounding out the lineup, along with the Chargers defense against Tennessee, who I was happy to get off waivers. I did not think I was going to get them. I was very surprised that I was the only one to put in a claim for them. So I appreciate you guys all putting in claims for other people so I could get them. I also might flip in QJ. We'll see what happens. Maybe we could trade this week. We never know, right? Obviously, I have to pick myself here. You can't root against yourself. You got to believe. You got to believe. You got to believe in yourself. So this is what it's all about, this matchup here. I'm going to be glued to my couch all weekend, just locked in for our matchup of the year. The boys got to get up for this one. Not only is this a big matchup from a friendship and everything perspective, but it's a big matchup in the standings, because if I can get the win here, I'll be 7-2 and Omar will drop to 5-4. That is a big difference than if we're both sitting at 6-3. So big matchup for the boys this week. And that about wraps me. This is a longer video this week. I got more energy because I'm doing the Tuesday. I had a white monster today. We're feeling good. We're feeling lively. We're feeling spry. So those who watched the whole thing, not Corndog, he obviously didn't watch the whole thing because he sucked last week and he doesn't watch when he loses. Everyone else, thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Go Patriots, and good luck to everyone this week, especially Omar, bro. Hope you do well.